Welcome to the life of a global Desi.
A podcast that connects like minded Desis all over the globe by conforming to stereotypes and breaking them.
Introducing Life of a Global Desi interviews.
Yes, we bring to you our conversations with remarkable global Desis who are doing some really cool things in life.
The idea is to bring fresh perspectives, add diverse voices, and expand the global Desi community. On to our episode now. Hello, everyone. Today we have a very interesting episode. I know I'm going to get a headache by the end of it because we have Aarti and her fantastic girl gang back from school. I think 6th grade. They've known each other forever, and I'm excited. Aarti, take it off.
Yes, so I'm here with my gal friends from 6th grade, and we have a ball of a time when we are together. Right now, we're very far away, so this is really a nice way for me to connect with them again, talking about stuff that we usually talk about. So this is gonna be fun. uh,
Yeah, we're in 5 different locations, I think. We
Yeah.
have 2 continents and
3 continents.
3 places in India, right? 3 continents, yeah. South America, of course, Aarti, Medellin. I'm in Boston. Kaveri is in Sikandrabad. Mandira is in Bangalore. And Steffi is in the beautiful state of Rajasthan in Nasirabad. So this will be fun.
Yes, this will be. So let's go around and introduce ourselves. I would invite the guests to introduce themselves, starting with Kaveri.
Hi, Kaveri here. So I grew up in Sikandrabad for the most of my life. It's how I met my ladies. Um, Following that, I pursued a degree in textile design at NIFT. And so my work experience is not going to blow you away, at least not right now. But since we're getting to bed with our thoughts, allow me to bore you with the details. So I've worked at a few clothing stores here in Hyderabad, at Amazon, and even for myself. And in fact, I'm giving it a second shot, and it's pretty difficult and everything. But if you ever hear of the directory, please give it a shout out or please look forward to it. At the moment, I'm obsessed with my cat. I love staring at him, and with Alain Delon. He's a brilliant actor. I don't know if you've ever seen anything by him, but if you do, start with Rocco and His Brothers or Purple Noon. They're brilliant movies. They're absolutely brilliant.
Yay! All right, Stavi.
That's awesome.
Hi, I'm Steffi. I am a Malayali Christian who so far has not yet found another for marriage. I'm also 30. So I've had my education, as in an engineering degree, in IT, and my job profile has got nothing to do with it. I work in the defense services, and every 2 to 3 years, I keep changing my location. Fun fact, in the past 1 year, I've been to 16 countries. Now go figure. I'm really excited to be here with the girls
Woohoo!
because I feel that it is so important and such an integral part of our lives to be surrounded by friends and family. And about time that we know that the good ones are to keep and the ones that don't work out, well, you just gotta let them go.
Ooh.
That's awesome. And next we have Mandira.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Mandira. I recently just finished my PhD in Sikandrabad, and luckily, when I went there, I got back in touch with these three. Otherwise, I had left Sikandrabad before my 12th grade, and I got to travel to a lot of other places. But yeah, so my life is sort of veering towards working with special kids, which I'm really, really passionate about. And yeah, so sort of research oriented, I guess, and not particularly looking for marriage. So let's just look at this in a different perspective, maybe from my side. Yeah.
Got it. So we're super excited to have all 4 of you on the podcast and 4 girls who are turning 30 this year. Is that correct?
Yep.
This will be a fun
Well-
episode.
Except for Kaveri, she's the baby in the group. She's turning 30 next Jan. So, yeah. But Did we forget to mention the theme of the episode? Sis, do you want to take us through it?
Yeah, I was just going to start to do that with four girls on this episode who are turning 30, some this year, some next year. We thought it would be really interesting to talk about a really pertinent question that society thinks is really pertinent, but we keep getting asked a lot as girls, which is, when are you getting married, beta? I think it's a very, very prevalent question that we keep hearing. And let's demystify what is behind that question and why do we think we get asked that question. But before we do that, we just wanted to do a quick fun activity to get to know our guests a little better, so our listeners get to do that. Each one of you the three words that your friends would use to describe you, and why do you think they chose those three words? So if we could start with Kaveri.
To describe myself,
Mm-hmm.
I think tardy is the first one. I'm certain of it. Yeah, I have like, I don't know, I try so hard to like be on time, but it's just a real struggle all the time. I think that's something that people will attest to. Yikes. I mean, I think it's better if you guys answer this question. Am I allowed to ask you guys for your opinion? Because
Okay, yeah, why don't we do that? Why don't the three of you give each other the three words?
So yeah, for Kaveri, I think it would be sensitive because she's just so sensitive when it comes to animals or nature. She's just so loving in that way.
I agree with
Yeah.
that, knowing that she's adopted a dog right outside her house. I think a stray puppy that was so cute.
Yeah, and I would add a +1 to the tardiness, but that I don't think that defines her in any way. I think what makes her a brilliant friend is just how caring and selflessly giving she is. Like she will just make your day by doing special things out of the box, just surprise you with really cute little gestures, and I think that's what really makes her super special as a friend.
Awesome, I love
And
that.
yeah, I would say that she is also one of the most non-judgmental people I've met,
True.
which is really nice. Yeah, you can just say whatever you want to her and tell her whatever you want, and you can be sure that she would not judge you for it.
Yup.
Lovely. I love all those things and hope that gives the listeners a great insight into Kaveri. How about Mandra?
Okay, so I think Mandira is like super sensitive physically. Because once she got a tetanus injection in 8th grade, and she wouldn't let us touch her. Okay, it was really funny. So yeah,
Man, that was painful.
yeah.
Yeah. I would add to that by saying Mandira is like this. She's like Hermione Granger. She's like Miss Know It All. She'll come up with some crazy trivia about just about everything under the sun. So that's what I think of when I think of Mandira to describe her.
all right, so
Ka-
I think Mandara is extremely dependable. So the thing is that Mandara, I used to live with me for, I think, so she pursued her PhD in the same place where I am right now in Hyderabad, and so she would come and stay with me. And I remember the one thing, like whenever I got into like trouble with like a lot of technology related things, and even otherwise, I remember she was like super super dependable. Like I could always like ask her, like even if it was like money or like if something wasn't working, or if you could help me do this. Like she's pretty dependable, extremely dependable. So yeah,
That's awesome. I can definitely vouch for that. It took us
I
an
know.
hour to get this recording done. And so Kaveri is testament to that.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you. What about Steffi?
Ooh.
I
I
think
have it. I have
Steffi.
one. I think Steffi is the most authentic person I know. Like she speaks her mind, like just off the blue, and then she does not care about being politically correct at all. She shares what is really in her mind and in her heart. And in today's day and age, I feel like that's so rare. And I really wish to be more like that.
Yeah, I think, Steffi is like super boisterous as well. I think she's one of the happiest people you will ever meet. Yeah, even on
You
her
know when
bad
she enters the room.
day, yeah, even on a bad day, I feel like she's happier than most of us are on, like, you know, our bad
That's
days.
true.
Yeah.
Great. So her enthusiasm and just the positivity. We definitely need more people like that. Anything else you'd like to add, Kaveri?
No, because I
Or
was gonna
not is
say the
also
same
fine.
thing. She's remained the same since school. She's a
Okay.
sweetheart.
Yeah.
Hopefully that gives all our listeners, a really good insight into these four amazing and brilliant girls who are all somehow turning 30 this year, which I cannot imagine because I've known them since they were little kids and, in pigtails. So it's definitely very interesting to hear their perspectives and, what they think about each other. So let's jump right in. My first question to these four spinsters right now is, why do you think marriage is such a major part of a girl's life in a Desi context and in the Indian society? Why do you think it trumps other milestones, even like, say, graduation or any career high that you might have had? Everyone ends up asking about, when are you getting married, beta?
I guess historically speaking, we can just say that women weren't expected to go out. So it's sort of like carried on in tradition, maybe. And they're like, you were not expected to work. And even now, what's the point of you working? Something like that. Like it's something to do with a very deep rooted traditional cultural thing, maybe. Yeah, I think that's why, probably.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, so I think I would agree with her as well, because I think initially it was all about physicality and who was more stronger. So back in the days when this did start, so it was felt that women needed to be protected. So maybe it was a concept which started like that, and because of which it was thought that she should be left in the confines of a home which is more safe, and the man should go about doing the hunting and all the protection and stuff like that. But then over time things have changed, and yet it's maybe it's not in all parts of the world that it has changed, but yeah, it's still very prevalent. And sometimes a woman is even looked at as a liability, like, it's better to just settle her and get her married off. So yeah, I think it's very deep rooted, like Mandira brought out.
Yeah, it's certainly conditioned. You're conditioned to think like that. And although like being well educated now is a feather in your cap, no one really expects you to go beyond that. Like if you're well educated, it's great, and it'll help you get like a really good alliance and stuff like that. But no one's really expecting you to be like a CEO or
Yeah.
anything. Like it's fine. You've done your
Yeah,
bit, child.
like I a few years back, I had met this palmist, and he said something really interesting. He said that nowadays we look at women's right hand, whereas earlier we used to only look at their left hand, while the man's right hand used to be seen, simply because they said that your left hand is what you're born with and the right hand is what you make of yourself, and women are supposed to be born with the left hand and they're supposed to make themselves as their left hand. So basically they don't need to go out and do something about themselves which will change their fate. So that was an interesting thing. Yeah, it was
See, told
interesting
you,
to me.
Madhura is all about trivia and interesting stuff from everywhere around the world. But yeah, I agree with these girls. It's a mix of, I think, definitely deep-seated, deep-rooted patriarchy at some level, where you need a woman to be in the house, and like marriage was more of a economic alliance. Like if you trace it back to history, I feel like a big reason for that, a big part of Indian culture, I'm sure like other cultures too, but in Indian culture, still till date it's illegal, but still it is. But that used to be a good way of trying to get wealth into your family, so you would find someone either who's wealthy to try and get them in. And this second piece about patriarchy, why it is no sorry about conditioning, I wanted to add to Kaveri's point, which is um, these are just ideas that have been perpetuated forever, right? Like a girl is married, born to be married, and even when you're a kid, you have these, you play house or ghar basically, and you dream about being married. Your cinema and popular culture tells you that, oh, you need to fantasize about getting married, and that is your ultimate goal, which is kind of like fed to us since we were kids. And like when you're even playing doll with the dollhouse, then you're getting two dolls married. So it's this whole idea and theme of marriage is central. I feel like, and that's why we so strongly get imbibed into that culture.
That's very interesting, and thanks for sharing all of your personal perspectives. I'm curious to hear, when was the first time someone asked you, "When are you getting married, beta?" And who was it? Who asked you that question? What was your response? And how did it make you feel?
Okay, so the first time that I was asked this question was probably when I was attending someone's wedding, and when all the relatives come to you and they're like, "You're next, you're next." And you're like, "Yeah, I'm just studying in school, okay?" So, but then out of respect, you're like, you just smile it off. And I think that's the first time when I was really asked this.
So, interestingly enough, I was not asked this by someone older than me. Well, sort of older, but then after my bachelor's, I had gone to visit my dad in like the place he was commanding in Uttarakhand. And there was this guy who came up to me and asked me, "So you've completed your bachelor's, right?" I said, "Yeah." So he says, "Oh, you look just like you've just gone to school. So when do you plan to get married? You know, I'm also a Tamilian." And I just looked at him and I was extremely uncomfortable. So I was like, okay, that's nice to know, but I've just completed my bachelor's and I plan to study further. It was nice meeting you. I was really tiny and I had not thought about marriage at all. So I was just super uncomfortable. The only thing I thought of was like hightailing it out of there towards my dad. Yeah, so that's what I did.
It's interesting how you describe like bachelor's, having completed your bachelor's to be like really tiny. But that's so true, right? Emotional maturity wise, I feel like we were still learning so much about ourselves, even, and it's been such a process and journey. Well, for me, when I have been asked that is when I was much younger. I feel like every family function you go to from a very young age, this seems to be the theme. Every relative wants to know, when are you getting married, or what about this one? When is she gonna get married? And my mom would always have to say things like, oh, she's still in school, or something like that. But what is more interesting is from a very young age, and this might be including another piece, another popular societal belief in India, which is around just dark skin, right? And I don't want to mix up too many issues, but the way it was implied was, I remember I was very young and I was at a family function, and my mother was advised to save up a lot of dowry because both my sister and I have like darker skin tones. And I was just like, we're not even grown up yet. And her advice is to save up dowry for some future wedding that will happen because she thinks our parents are going to have a really tough time finding us a groom because we both are, dark skin. So that was a very interesting context to be introduced to this idea of marriage as a trade or a barter, even.
But that's what it actually is. I mean, it used to be at least. Like, we take your lady and. Anyway, so yeah, I think I got asked. I don't remember the specific like an instance, but I think when I became like 27 or 28, probably around 28, my family, my mom may have like asked me, just like on the surface, and like she would just mention marriage in conversations and stuff, and I'm like, what? It would always make me nervous. At the time I didn't think, and even now I have my reservations against it. I'm not too sure about it. So yeah, I just try to avoid the conversation very poorly. Most of the time I get into fights about it, but yeah, it's not something I've dealt with very well.
Thanks for sharing that so candidly. I think each one of you has very beautifully identified some of the deep rooted nuances that exist in society, and why people ask these questions, which first of all I believe is not even appropriate. It's completely outside of the line of propriety. But yeah, how can you stop people, right? So the other question just related to that is, how often are you thinking about this question for yourself, right? Do you ever think about, when am I getting married? Like, is that something that comes to your mind? How often do you think about it?
Well, as an adult now, I don't actually think about it very often. The only time I think about it is when it's brought to my attention. So a couple of years ago, when my mom started talking to me about it, and I have an elder sister, and I think she was also not very keen on it, but I suppose she accepted it, that it was something that was going to happen to her, and she was like, okay, I'll shoulder the responsibility. And often when I would talk to her, I'm like, I'm not quite ready for this. And she would tell me, so her two main reasons were, like, one of the reasons that people insist on getting married is biological, and the other is companionship. And we can get into that a little later, but basically, that's what was like. It never came to me on my own. I was always asked to think about it, and I always avoided it because I never knew where to go from there. I couldn't answer the question as to whether or not I wanted to get married. I wasn't too sure if I wanted to be someone's wife or if I wanted to have children. I like kids, but I'm not sure if I want any. And I think all of that was very, like, my family didn't deal with it very well. They were like, okay, think about it, you know. Like, we used to have arguments about it, but they're like, okay, fine, give it a shot. And so I'm trying to keep my mind open to it now, but I'm still not quite sold on the idea.
So the I guess the answer is not very often, right? Unless you're reminded of it. That's very interesting. Yeah,
No,
says a lot about
not,
how
yeah, no.
one of you earlier said how we're force fed this question, but it doesn't naturally come to us. It's not like we're sitting and dreaming about it all day.
No.
Interesting, Mandara.
Yeah, I'm actually the same as Kaveri. Like I don't particularly think about it very often, but recently I think all of my friends are slowly getting married, and like other friends are talking about marriage, or some friends are going through like marriage alliances, and I'm just I think I only think about marriage when it is brought to my attention, and I'm just like, if, my mindset right now is just, I think I was completing my PhD. I just finished and submitted, and I didn't want anything to interfere with that. And now I'm looking like I want to continue and start my career. And I don't think I'm mentally ready for like being dependent and expecting someone to be dependent on me, be it in whatever context. So I think I would rather be independent before this thing happens. And but then my parents started talking to me about it in when I was like 21 or 22, and I was just not comfortable with the idea. And I was just like, I also have an elder sister who is as old as you, Archanati. So I was just like, let her get married first, and then she got married, and they're like, so what about you? And then a few alliances came, and there was like a lot of confusion and complications and heartaches. But yeah, personally speaking, I rarely think about it.
Okay, so one fun fact is that all four of us have elder sisters. So it's a
Actually,
given that
that's
all four of us
true.
had to wait for the elder ones to
Yes.
get married first. Yeah, so that's something we have in common.
Which
So
is also so funny, this whole thing of bade wali ko pehle shadi karna hai.
yeah, that's true. So in a way, you have a buffer. You're like, oh, I have to wait till she gets married, and I have all the time to have fun. Yeah, but for me, it's like ever since I was a kid, I grew up watching a lot of movies. So I think I was always fantasizing about getting married. Like for me, it was like meri shadi hogi types. I was kind of like, I always looked forward to it. But then as I grew up, it was more about dating someone, and there was also a stage in which I would laugh it off by saying that, oh, look at these people getting married so early. I'd be like, oh my goodness, she's not even lived her life and she's married now, and at the age of 23 she's had her first kid. But over the years, I feel that when we give so much importance to our career, our education, maybe even getting a right partner, to share things is also important. So it really doesn't matter at which age you find that person. uh, the sooner, it's not like the sooner the better, but it could be early, it could be late. But I feel like, we shouldn't think like getting a partner too early is not cool. So that's something that I used to think like. And as of right now, because I'm also in a profession in which family stability is kind of like it adds to your credibility, which is kind of a downer, because they look at people who are married, probably have kids, they'll be more sorted out or something, which I don't think is the case. That is one thing. The second thing is that, like Kaveri mentioned about the biological aspects of it. Yeah, because there might be issues in having children. Like that's the only thing. But other than that, I don't feel a pressure. I'm still really trying to wait it out, to find the right person. But yeah, I'm on many marital portals or whatever. I can like number them. They're like four or five at the moment. So yeah.
Wow. I feel like I'm kind of similar to Steffi on that front. I think I'm a bit too much of a hardcore romantic, and I also do think about marriage a lot. So, like, for example, if I find a really cute guy that I'm maybe dating, maybe not even dating, like, or have just met the person,
Or
first
just seen across
question
the
that pops
street.
into my head, or just seen across the street, my head fast forwards into imagining myself with that person with 2 kids or 10 kids even, and like living the life of my dream, and then have to always backtrack because I'm just like, okay, jumping the gun here, like that person doesn't even know my name. But I think just generally spoiled too much with this idea of romanticism, right? And how romanticism just spoils the idea of marriage in general, because this, again, through Bollywood or through Hollywood even, we are fed this idea of more through Bollywood, this idea of सात जन्मों का रिश्ता, which is you take 7 circles, at least like in Hindu marriages, you take 7 circles of the fire, and you will have 7 lifetimes of companionship with that same person. It's an interesting analogy. It's like
Yikes.
it's like 9 lives of a cat or something. But I mean, seriously, I'm not saying all this to diss on any cultures, by the way. Just I mean, I just think it's so interesting, right, that we have had these ideas, and so my personal like, how often do I think about it for myself? I think often enough, very often, in fact, sometimes too often, in a very non-realistic way, which is super interesting because I feel like the way I live my life is super non-conformist in a lot of sense, and um, quite frankly, the idea of getting married scares me because I am afraid that I won't get to have the kind of independence and freedom that I do. Because in India, when you get married, you're not just marrying the person or the individual, you're marrying their entire family, which is under the assumption that I would marry an Indian. If I don't, then obviously things change, but still, yeah.
That's very interesting. It sounds like it ranges from I think about marriage every day, or at least companionship every day, to never until it is brought to my attention that hey, you are of marriageable age and you probably should have kids soon. So let's please think about marriage. But I'd be curious to hear, and I think some of you alluded to this. What are your personal views on just the institution of marriage? And in today's world, do you think marriage is still a relevant institution? Why or why not?
All right, so I do think that it depends on the person. It is not for everyone. People get into it, I think, like Arti stated, having a very romantic movie-like idea of what being with someone is supposed to look and sound like, but it is nothing like that. It's, in fact, I've been told, like when I was talking about me, like when my mom was talking to me about marriage and I was discussing it with other people, they were like, it's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of hard work. It's not just, oh, we'll be together, we'll be in love all the time. I once read that you love people despite themselves, besides who they are, not just the good parts. So I think being with that, like that is pretty, like that's not very easy to do, and not everyone's capable of it. And I think instead of, you know, I think we should just accept it, like be kinder to ourselves and be like, okay, fine. If it's not, it's not. When it happens, it will, and it'll be well worth it. You'll have a healthy relationship, and that's what you should aim at. So I do think that marriage is absolutely relevant. If you want to start a family, if you want companions, if you want to have children and a family of your own, I'm not talking about like your grandmothers and two families coming together. In the end, you and your partner having children, that is your family, yours and yours alone. And if you want that, if you want to bring kids into a world, I think then yes, marriage is absolutely like it's totally valid. I was reading this book. I forgot the name, but it was an interview between so there's this man called Joseph Campbell, and he was being interviewed, and he had a very balanced idea of marriage. He said that when you get married to a person, you're basically coming together for the greater good. And that is essentially how, like, so when people fight and when you can't see eye to eye on subjects, you have to keep in mind that the whole thing about making sacrifices and compromises. People that nowadays individuality is such a big thing that people are like, I'm not going to give up who I am. But when you fight or you have to compromise in a marriage, you're not giving up who you are. You're giving it up for something greater than that. And do you want to give it up for that? If you do, then it's well worth the compromise. If not, then well, I don't know what to say about that. But it's for the greater good. It's for something bigger than just you. You're coming together with this other person to make something bigger than both of you, and I think that's a pretty mature and pretty reasonable. That was actually the only version of like marriage being like described to me that I could actually accept. That I thought was pretty great. Up until that point, I was just like, yeesh, I wasn't too keen on it, but I was like, wow, like that's actually a really great way to see it, to view it.
I don't know how to follow up on that, but yeah, personally, I think marriage as an institution does hold some relevance because while I have seen like a lot of couples who have been living together, they have children together, but then lawfully speaking, I guess marriage does hold a lot of relevance because as as spouses you have a lot of rights and you have a lot of weightage, and clearly if you want to be one family, this piece of paper which makes you married is very very like very much needed. And even in today's context, though, like I feel people need to think a lot more before they do get married, because I think it's much more easy to just separate and get divorced. And people need to think a lot about marriage before they do take that step. And once they are in a marriage, they need to work a lot on it and just not like be aversive to the other person as like their personality or whatever. So generally speaking, I think yes, but then like Kaveri said, I think it's all depending on person to person. Like it's not for everyone. There are a lot of people who are just happy. Like one of my professors was very happy, and she's been living with her partner for 16 years. They have 2 kids. So I don't think that everybody is like interested in marrying, but then yes, it does matter a lot in a lot of ways, I think. Yeah.
Interesting. So, yeah, that's actually very interesting. Kaveri said that, if you want to build a family, then probably marriage is highly relevant. You mentioned legally it's relevant, but you also just gave an example of your professor who has built a family but is not legally married. Um, do you think that's problematic, or do you think that's just as long as you are on the right page with your partner and on how to proceed with whatever comes your way, do you think that that could still work? Then why do you really need
Yeah,
that
it does
legal
work, but
thing,
then
right?
no, but then the thing is that in times of crisis, this thing of being a spouse will definitely come into effect, right? For example, something as simple as say a retirement pension. Once a person is deceased, their spouse gets half their pension. So something as simple as that, or for that matter, medical care. If one person can't take care of themselves, then the spouse has more rights over their treatment plan than a person who's living together, like, and not married.
Absolutely. So from a purely practical standpoint, it's highly relevant. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Awesome. Steffi?
I would like to also bring out the fact that, when we try to deal with another person and the different characteristics that they have, we're also in a way maybe growing out of our own comfort zone. So I think the real challenge is actually living with another person, with their good side and their bad side, with their employability, unemployability, and the challenges which comes with their work and their personality. So marriage as just attributing to adding something to yourself, it's a lot of work, but then there are a lot of fruits or benefits that you reap out of it as well. So you get companionship, in turn someone else is also accepting you the way you are, and that's sort of a commitment. So it's way deeper than that. It's at the end of the day, we do really want to have someone, who is just there for us. So it's like a human need, but it's nothing that everyone would feel the same way. And secondly, when it comes to a country like India, like a reason why do we stick it out with a marriage? Sometimes a marriage may not be all that great, but we stick it out because probably, we've done the Sat Fere, like in the Hindu tradition, or we've taken a promise in front of God in a chapel, or, done it a religious kind of way. So we do have those kind of religious sentiments attached to it. Secondly, probably as to getting into a marriage is celebrated, and getting out of it is in a way, looked down upon by society. So sticking it out to a marriage has a lot of various factors which are in play. And is the institution relevant today? It's as relevant as you want it to be, At the end of the day, a marriage is basically a partnership. So whatever you have is shared. So if you can share it, you share it. And if you feel like it's at a point in which you do not wish to share it for whatever reason,
Yeah.
you should step out of it.
Yeah, Stuffy. I mean, I agree with all three of you in so many ways,
It's
and
awesome. Thanks for sharing
yeah,
that.
I see why we
Aarti?
are friends. But yeah, I think that's so true, right? It's relevant depending on who you are. If marriage, a traditional marriage, is not your thing, and lifelong companionship is what you crave for, I feel like people should have the freedom to just do that even outside of a marriage, have kids outside of that. And these are very personal opinions, right? Also, I think, like you rightly mentioned, Steffi, like just the taboo around something like divorce. I think it's serious, and it's unfortunate that Indian society has so much pressure on how sacred the institution of marriage is, but like not in other ways around. The fact that marital rape is still not illegal in India, like stuff like that. I think that is super important, and those things need to be. They all kind of go hand in hand. If you're saying you're gonna make marriage relevant for all intents and purposes, like practically it's important that everyone, for a society to be stable, for it there not to be like chaos or like freewheeling hippie orgies, like, oh sorry, maybe you can cut that part out, but freewheeling like hippie lifestyle that people are leading, and for the society to function you need marriage, then that makes sense. But I think my biggest question there is around, it's, is it for internal motivations or external motivations that one is actually getting married, right? And if it is because of external pressure, then I think it's not worth it, because the other people in the society are not the ones who are going to stay in that marriage. It's you who has to stay in that marriage. So your motivations better be internal, because you're the one who has to live through it. So I like each to their own. Free will is what I'd like to say to the relevance of it, and also like just not for the societal pressure piece of it. Yeah.
Great. Thanks for sharing that, ladies. I think very interesting points all across. And I think that this conversation has been happening for at least the past few years now, because I know even before that it was pretty much a non negotiable that, well, everyone has to get married and there's no two ways about it. But people are having more deliberate, meaningful conversation around the topic and introspecting for themselves if it really is something that they would choose for themselves. So, in finality, I want to try and wrap up this conversation by asking each one of you, what advice would you give to someone who's asking this question, right? Someone who asks you, when are you getting married, beta? Right? What do you have to say to them? And what is your response these days? Like, how do you respond to that question? Kaveri, maybe we can start off with you.
Um, I think the only it depends on who's asking me, but I think I used to I didn't really like it, and it used to always irritate me. But now it's more like pick your battles, let it go. I mean, just smile and just try to get out of it. But yeah, if it were my family, I would just be honest about how I feel, which is pretty ambivalent. But if strangers ask me, I'll be like, I don't know, maybe soon, maybe not. Depends on how I'm feeling. So I'll lie about it and get out of it. But I couldn't care less what I say to strangers. But to my family, I prefer to be honest and tell them how I'm feeling, if I'm feeling open to it or not.
Great.
Mostly not. So.
Mandara?
My internet connection might be a little unstable, but
We can hear
yeah. I would actually recently I've not been asked this question. I think people are just staying away from it because people keep asking my parents, and my parents are just like, oh, she's doing her PhD. And I've basically holed myself in my room, only writing and reading, and occasionally eating and sleeping. But I would prefer if they just back off and it's none of their business. But obviously, I do not say that out loud. I just smile at them, like Kaveri said, and politely, I'm just like, I'm focusing on my career and I've not yet thought about it, so not sure is what I mostly say. But yeah, I genuinely feel like they should probably change their question and ask something along the lines of, what are your plans in life, or what are you doing right now, or what are you interested in right now, rather than asking us when we are planning to get married, because I mean, it all depends on the person, right?
That's great advice. I think those are beautiful questions and very interesting questions to ask someone when you meet them after a long time. Steffi?
Yeah, so when I look at people with PhDs and who are doctors and in the medical field, I feel like, wow, they have it like straight 8 years off, huh? No one's gonna bother them with that excuse. And I feel like, oh, this just doing an engineering wasn't good enough. But yeah, apart from that, like I've reached a stage right now in which, because I am also looking forward to getting married and finding someone. So when someone does ask me this, I can, obviously it's none of their business, but I candidly like push it off. I'm like, I am looking, and I hope you are looking for someone for me as well. And then I just list out, he should be handsome, he should be very well educated, and this is the kind of salary package that I want. So that next time when they do ask me the same question, I'm like, have you found someone for me? So, I try
Love
to
it.
just play it safe in that way, and I try to put it on their head, because obviously, who doesn't want to settle down, whatever age, 50, 60, 40, whatever, it doesn't matter, everyone's looking for something good for themselves. But yeah, I always try to put it on them, and just, I mean, who knows, maybe they do find a nice guy for me.
It's awesome. I love that you're turning it around on
Great
them.
marketing, Steffi.
Aarti?
Yeah. Yeah. I think these are such. Mandra, I really liked your advice. It was very practical. My advice, so like my response, if someone does ask me this, first of all, to just set a ground here, like I don't have anything against the people who ask me this. Often it is old aunties or relatives in parties or marriages, wedding functions that we attend. And I totally see where they're coming from, right? They're coming from a place where they grew up in a completely different time, in a completely different era, where women were not empowered, educated, or self sufficient in the ways that we are right now. So for them, like, I see why they would still think that having a kid is still where you would derive your ultimate joy from, and which I believe, I'm sure, like, as women, since we have that power, we should exercise that in some way or another. I feel like, of course, we don't always need marriage to have kids. You can have it outside of it as well, given technology in today's day and age. But all I'm getting is I really respect them for that, and also we're taught to respect elders. But having said all that, it really irritates me, is what my first reaction is when someone does ask me that, especially depending on my mood that day. Second of all, the assumption that they make, um, I think it comes from a certain level of assumption, but it also comes from a place of not knowing us as people and assuming that marriage is utmost important for us, right? For them it might be, but not for us. And so that takes me off. And also them not knowing our background histories. Maybe we've come out of, in and out of, like, certain relationships that have, that, want us to be on a break and really find ourselves and look inwards. So maybe we are very sensitive in that period of time and are not really ready for marriage. Maybe them asking that question really triggers me, because I'm just like, oh, like feminism and all those layers kicking in. So my immediate reaction is really like, lately I've been wanting to say this, but I haven't said this, is I just haven't found the right girl yet. And I'm so tempted to like say that to them, because the only other thing that's twice as shocking or like super witty, I mean, it's a witty response, but quite honestly, if you're not married till 30, 35, their assumption is that you're gay. They would assume that about not just women but also men. They would just assume that, oh, but that boy is definitely gay, so no girl is, he's not able to find a girl. So I think that's another layer of society where it's liberalism, changing times, all these things mixing up and all of that. But what I really say is, first of all, I don't attend wedding functions. I didn't attend the last wedding function because I was just dreading this question, and I knew I would just snap, and I was just not in the zone to face this question. Even though I love my family and extended family and I love them, this one question, I would have just totally snapped. I wish there was, and I think this is a great opportunity for me to present my views on this and hope they're listening. So they know, like, that right now, like, I'm excited about exploring the world. I'm excited about exploring myself, my place in the world, and finding myself, really, as cliched as it sounds. My response would be just that I'm still trying to figure things out for myself, and I'm trying to fall in love with myself and marry myself first before I really believe that you can't be a part of a twosome without being whole with yourself as a person. And that's what I'm really working on right now. So that would be my
That's
response.
fantastic advice, and thanks for so candidly and frankly sharing what you truly feel. I think it would have been easy to be politically correct and pleasing everyone and just saying what, some version of, yeah, no, marriage is the best, and all of that. And I think you guys have presented all sides of the story, how you personally feel, how your experiences have shaped that idea of marriage. So thank you, first of all, for doing that. Super excited that we were able to get four intelligent, bright, brilliant women who just happen to be single right now to share their views about this topic. Before we let you go, girls, because you're on the Life of a Global Desi podcast, I have a question about, what does the term Global Desi mean to you? How and why do you identify as a Global Desi, if at all? If not, that's cool.
So I think global desi is someone. I think it has to do with perspective. You can't be that the mandak in the kuwa. I think it's the exact opposite of that. I think it doesn't matter if you've never been out of the country. It doesn't matter if, you don't travel much. I think it's so much a matter of what you are aware of, what's happening around you, what's happening in the world. I think that's a very global perspective to have, I think, because I've met people who haven't probably been out as much, but who have that kind of a perspective, who are pretty globally aware of what's happening and they have an opinion on it. And so I suppose, yeah, that would be a global desi, someone who knows what's going on around them.
Yeah, I think similar to Ka, it's something like living locally and thinking globally, like having the ability to sort of, have like an open perspective to everything in life, be it knowledge or fashion or, whatever, like any career, like. I think that is what is a global desi, a person who is able to live in their like desi environment and be able to do something that is globally affecting everyone, maybe.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Steffi, you've been to like double-digit number of countries. What do you think?
So yeah, the first image which comes to your mind when you ever think of global desi is like this Indian who's come out of the country and who's like living the life and the big dream and things like that. But just as beautifully brought out by Kaveri and Mandira, I think a global desi is someone who is independent, educated, and opinionated. Someone who is confident about whatever they feel, irrespective of how it is perceived by others. So I feel a global desi in today's scenario, and or even from before, even in days when very few people would actually step out of the country, is anyone who can be anywhere, who is strong-willed and who stands by what they believe. So that, according to me, is like what a global desi is.
Fantastic. Aarti.
Yeah, I love your answers, girls. Like, I think I'm falling more and more in love with you through this podcast. Yeah, I think for me, a global desi is someone. The desi piece of it is someone who's of like Indian subcontinent origin, could be Indian, Pakistani, Bangladeshi, Nepali, or Sri Lankan. But I think what makes them global, or what makes them a global desi, is their ability to love without the idea of borders, or without the idea of other identities being stronger, like race and ethnicity and all these other things. So basically, this idea of being open minded, open to learn, being curious, and also how humanity would supersede any of these other things that limit us as people. So, how the soul knows no boundaries, just that idea that we all are, by the end of the day, earthlings. And I think a person of Desi origin who can vibe at that level, or actually think on that level, I think to me is global Desi.
Fantastic. All such relevant thoughts in today's time and age, right? Where, I mean, we see the world kind of being torn apart across all of these borders and race and ideologies and all of that. And from what each one of you has said, I think all four of you are fantastic global desis, and global desis in the true sense. So thank you so much for living that, and also, like I said, sharing your thoughts so candidly. I think to all our listeners, what we're hoping to do is really get the real thoughts of people of the millennial generation who identify as desis, and really just bring to fore some topics that
Thank
we all
you
shy
for
away
having
from even
us.
talking candidly about. So I'm so glad these four girls have been able to do that, and thanks again for being on this podcast. Really appreciate it. Woohoo! Thanks so much, girls. Yeah, I'm sure. Nerve-wracking, but I think also just very candid. And I feel like I've known you girls since you were in 5th or 6th grade, but I think I've seen you grow into such beautiful, brilliant, and like women who have strong women who
Thank
have a mind
you.
of their own. And I'm so proud
Strong
of
woman.
all four of you.
Thank you. That's so sweet.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Thanks for coming on the podcast. For all our listeners, if you have any comments to share about this crazy question that everyone thinks is their birthright to ask, when are you getting married, beta? Please share your comments, thoughts with us on lifeofaglobaldaisy@gmail.com, or you can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, our social media, Stitcher, Spotify, or wherever else you listen to the podcast. Keep listening and
Peace out. Stay curious.
stay curious. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey Desis, if you enjoyed this episode, then please rate, review, and subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever else you're listening to podcasts.
And drop us a note on lifeofaglobaldaisy@gmail.com, or our social media to keep up this awesome dialogue.
Oh, and don't forget to give us a 5-star rating.
You're so cheap. Why are you asking them for 5-star ratings?
Well, I always ask for the rating I want, not the one I have. Like dress for the job you want, not the one you have.
That's like the stupidest thing I've heard all day.
Aarti, you're so judgmental. You need to stop being
Listen,
judgmental.
I just think you can't be so demanding. That's all.
You ask for what you want.
Bleh.